Like most of the country, we are going through another heat wave, and this one, we've already been warned by our power company that if there is too much pressure on the grid, we will also lose power for periods of time. The loss of power is something we've gone through with the fires, and if there's a high fire danger, they'll close off the power. So this is a slightly different set of circumstances, but the same outcome. So I'm going to talk about how I keep my house cool without air conditioning. This is an old cabin, no insulation. Up until recently, I had just fans. A friend of mine gave me this great little unit that he refurbished for me. And even with that, if I strategize with the fans and with the curtains and with heat management in the house, I don't need to use it unless it's a really desperate situation. So some of these pointers might be helpful to you if you do not have air conditioning or if you're trying to keep your power bills down. I'm also going to talk to you about how I manage power outages up here. First of all, I am very aware of the sun, where the sun is, and where the hot spots and cold spots are in my house. I wake up pretty early in the morning, as early as I can, and open all my doors. There's the back door to the deck, there's the side door from the kitchen, and there is the front door. I let all the cool air in, and I turn on the fan behind me and the fan in my bedroom to just start bringing that air in. Now, I have a friend who lives up in another set of mountains here in Northern California, and he had a really sharp idea. And that was he opens all his doors in the morning and puts a big box fan in front of each one of those open doors and just blasts all that cold air in from the fan. The thing about ceiling fans is direction is very important. If you are in the summer and you're trying to keep the room cool, you want your blades to go counterclockwise. In the winter, if you want to keep the rooms warm and the heat down, you have to go clockwise. And every fan on the motor part, where the blades go into, has a little switch. So check it, check the direction of your fan. If it is summer and it's going clockwise, it's not going to help you. Same with the winter, if it's going counterclockwise, it's not going to help you. So just turn that fan on, see what direction it's going in, grab yourself a ladder, a step stool, turn it off first, and adjust the switch, and you will see a big difference. So knowing where the hot spots of the house are is really important. I know that this side of the house gets hot first because that's where the sun comes from. So as soon as the sun starts coming up, and I can feel that in the house, I can also see it outside. We get sun a little bit later than other folks around here because I'm in a little valley surrounded by mountains. So by the time it makes its way over the mountains, we maybe have a maybe 15-20 minute lag. So that's okay. I go ahead and close all my curtains. I have insulated curtains. I close them all for the day, and they really help. And if you have ever tried this, closing your insulated curtains during the day and sticking your hand between the curtain and the window, you will see what I mean. It's amazing how much heat is blocked in that little space. One of my wonderful viewers suggested also using those big round reflectors that you put in your car to keep your car cool on hot days. You put in the front window. I thought that was a brilliant idea. I have one, I can't find the other one. I have to go into my storage downstairs and do an actual search, or maybe get some at Dollar Tree, and that's a great idea too to put in your windows if you do not have insulated curtains. I also block off the hotter areas of the house. My kitchen and the room adjacent to the kitchen are always the coldest rooms of the house in the winter and the warmest rooms of the house in the summer. So I have an insulated curtain hanging between the living areas, the bedroom, the living room, and those two rooms year-round. Because my back deck is the hottest, it's the hottest place most of the day because the sun kind of comes around that direction, I have that door closed first. It's also, the deck is also a very useful place because it gets all that sun. So first thing in the morning, I will put out sun tea. If I'm making sun tea, I'll just stick it out there and forget about it. If I'm cooking something or experimenting with something in the solar oven, it goes out there first thing in the morning because I know it's going to get direct sun. If I'm hanging clothes out after laundry, then those go out the first thing in the morning or last thing at night. And then I really try to keep that door closed the rest of the day because it'll bring heat in like nobody's business. Soon after closing the back door, I close the other front doors as well, the kitchen door and the front door. If I feel the heat coming in, I close those doors and try to keep them closed all day. I try to only use the back door to go in and out of because it's behind that insulated curtain and will bring the least amount of heat into the house. And it's amazing. Once you've brought some heat into the house, it's impossible to get rid of it. As the day goes on, as the heat rises outside, the heat does rise in here. I've tested with thermometers, and with the strategy of the windows closed and the fans going, I usually can get up to 16-degree difference between outside and inside. So that's pretty good. That's no AC, and it's a pretty good thing, I think. I also time my activities to match the level of heat outside. First thing in the morning, I will do heavy duty stuff. I might run outside and water or move things around, make the bed, do dishes, stuff that takes a lot of physical activity, whatever that is, planting, unplanting, cleaning up. I get that done before it gets too hot. I do home health care, so most of my jobs have always started at the crack of dawn. So it means I'd miss the best part of the day at work in the summer, and I would have to go out really early in the dark and freezing cold in the winter to get to work. I have scored the most wonderful job, not only a lovely lady, all my clients have been lovely, don't get me wrong, but she's a lovely lady, and I don't have to start until noon. So that gives me multiple hours in the morning when the weather is cool here to get things done. Then I go to her house to work, and then by the time I come home, the heat is starting to break up a little bit. It's not always possible to get that accomplished with work, but it certainly has worked out for me. As the day goes on, my activity level drops. If I'm going to work, then I just go to work and I don't worry about it. If I'm at home, the afternoons are spent reading. Sometimes I take a nap, just being peaceful and quiet. I make sure my refrigerator is turned up a little higher than it is in the winter, and that I have sun tea and cold drinks in there, and that helps me a lot. I find I can't fight what is, so I just work with it. Now that I have that little air conditioning unit, sometimes I'll turn that on, but if I manage my activity and manage the day, starting in the morning, I'm usually okay. 4:30, 5 o'clock, sun starts going down, especially this time of year. At least it goes down for me, because I'm in that valley, so I don't get the direct sunlight. It goes down here a little earlier. And what's nice is we get a small breeze. So at that point, I open the doors again and let the air flow through. The air gets a little stale here during the day, and that helps a lot. Turn on the fans again, and as the sun goes down, I touch the windows. If the windows feel cool, then I open the curtains. Evenings are amazing here. I get some stuff done while it's still light. After a certain point, I just come in the house and sit on the back deck or the front deck and have tea or read, or if somebody comes over, just sit and chat. One big mitigating factor is the time of year. In July, the days are a lot longer, so the heat is longer, the sun is longer, and it's a little tougher. Right now, it's early September, so the days are a great deal shorter. The cool breeze, the less exposure to sun, it does help a lot. So those are also factors. We are anticipating some power outages, and there have already been some power outage in the county. If there's too much pressure on the grid, or if they feel there's going to be a high fire danger, then they will turn off the power. That's a given. I used to get a little panicked about the power outages, and I think I maybe over-prepared a little bit. But the level of preparation that you might need depends on your circumstances. I'm here by myself. I'm just taking care of myself. My needs are not many. I can make it work. I don't use a generator here anymore. I have a refrigerator and freezer. I cleared out my freezer so that there's room. The refrigerator is not as insulated as my freezer is. So freezer and the refrigerator. So I take what happens if we have a power outage. I'm going to open up the freezer in my refrigerator, put it in my big freezer, throw a blanket over it, not worry about it. It will stay cool for a long time. I also have some ice bags in there to help keep the freezer cold, so that's not a problem. The refrigerator really runs out of steam very quickly, so I have found it more effective to have an actual cooler. Take anything that's really perishable out of the refrigerator, put it in the cooler with ice or these ice packs, and call it a day. That actually keeps things cooler than in the refrigerator that is not functioning. I don't worry about cooking so much. I just don't cook when it's like this. I suppose I could. I have. When we've had generators, I've had a generator. I've put in the electric frying pan or whatever, but again, you know, I have plenty of stuff in the pantry. I can make myself a sandwich. You know, it's not that big a deal. Have some milk and some cereal. It's not that big a deal. If it is a bigger deal for you, then it's a good idea to be prepared for that. Either canned food that can be easily warmed up, or some scenario where you can cook a meal for a larger group of people, or for people who have needs for a more complicated meal. I do have a small propane burner with some propane containers if I want to, you know, warm up some water or something like that. I have my solar oven that I'm experimenting with right now for cooking. I have a couple of, I have this thing I got on Amazon a few years ago. It's a solar desk lamp. I just love it. I plugged it in last night. It obviously can charge from the solar thing, but I like to give it a little jump start the night before. If I think there's going to be a power outage in the next couple days, I'll just jump start it. I have another solar item that you can jump start with electric for charging the phone. I have some lanterns, flashlight. I really call it a day at that. Also, it's helpful to know where your stuff is. I always keep one lantern hanging on the wall here in the living room, between the living room and the bedroom. So if I lose power at night or something happens, I know at least where one of my light sources is located at all times. Insofar as water, I have off-grid water. It is gravity fed. I just put in a 2,500 gallon tank, and that works with the pump. But if there's no electricity, there's no pump. So I asked the guy who put in the tank to add a bypass valve so that if there is no electricity and the pump's not working, the bypass valve will bring the water directly from the tank at the top of the hill, and I'll still have water. Not at the greatest pressure as with the tank and the pump, but it's certainly good enough. Now, I know our local power company was giving out free generators. PG&E was giving out free generators to people who have wells, because if the well pump goes out, you can't get water at all. So I don't know if that applies to this situation, but I'm certainly going to give it my best shot. One thing I do need to do today is to fill up my car with gas. You know, right now we're just talking about heat, and we're just talking about you know, power outages due to heat, but this is also, if the wind picks up, it is also fire danger. So I have to be prepared to evacuate as well, which I feel I am, but I just need a little more gas in my tank. One of the things is, you know, in knowing your community is knowing where you can get what you need, even in a power blackout. And we've had multiple power blackouts, and I know which stores have generators and are still open, where I can get ice. We have this amazing casino down the road, which is on 100% no matter what's happening with the electricity. They are open, machines going, they've got massive generators. Their restaurant is open. I've driven down there and gotten takeout during power outages because I didn't want to cook, it was too hot or whatever. So, you know, it's not 100% suffering here. The one thing that can be a problem during a power outage is communications. There are several spots in the county where they set up these like cooling areas and internet areas. Ours is at the local casino, so I can walk there or drive there and check my phone messages, check emails. I do have a couple backup plans for emergencies, and I can get texts on my phone, but that's about it. So it's good to have that backup if you are without any power and you do need to check up on what's going on in the world. I'm looking into something that would allow me to plug my internet into some sort of battery system for blackouts, because that's the one thing I really miss, is being in touch with the world, especially if there's a fire or something. The internet, the Facebook pages, our Watch Duty fire app, local fire app, can give me information that I would need and I would not be able to access without power. So that's how I'm doing it. That's how I'm doing the heat. That's how I'm doing possible power outages. It's as big a deal as you want to make it. I understand that, you know, people have medical issues and all sorts of stuff like that, and you need to prepare for that. That's simply all I have to say. It's going to be exponentially harder the more people you have who are dependent on you or have special needs, obviously. For me, I'm okay. I'll figure it out. I go outside when it's light and I go to bed when it's dark, or I just sit out in the back. I have my little solar light. I can read. It's not that big a deal, but for some people it is a big deal. And you do need to be prepared. Severe heat is a public health emergency. It really is. If you don't feel well, you need to take care of that. All right. Thank you so much for watching. Hopefully some of my tips will help you, and keep your fingers crossed for all of us up here. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.